Hello, my name is Monica, and I will be discussing books while I put on my makeup, something I would like to call BB, which is basically Books and Beauty. And today we're going to be talking about Tarryn Fisher's new book, The Wrong Family. Now, if you have not read this, click off, because I will be spoiling basically the most points of this book. I mean, it's just going to be a quick rundown. This will be what you could consider Spark Notes, where it's just like, I'm going to give you the basic gist. It's not going to be extremely detailed, just more of a bunch of girls talking about a book, and I'm just trying to give you the plot and whatnot. So, like, if that's something you would like to hear, please keep watching. And then also, don't mind me, I am not a professional artist, makeup artist. I'm just a girl that likes to do makeup. So, you know. Like, this ain't a tutorial. This is more of a, I'm probably gonna get distracted trying to talk and do makeup, so there may be times where I just don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, moving along, because this is not why you're here for. You're here to hear about books and me ramble, and this is coffee. Anyways, we start off with a woman named Juno. She's living in this person's house, or these couple's house, Winnie and Nigel, and their son Samuel, who is 13. And basically it starts off with her talking crap about the family. She's like, nobody's cleaning up, there's no food in the kitchen and whatnot, and you don't know who this person is, but she's talking about this family that I guess she's living in. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of confused me at the beginning of like what was going on. Like, it gets revealed a little bit about, I don't know, 2/3 in or something like that, but at the beginning I was a little confused of like, what's going on? But so she's talking about it, and it goes off to Winnie. Winnie is having somewhat of a tiff with her husband because he apparently forgot their anniversary, and she's trying to be a team player because she wants to have some hanky-panky with her husband to try for another baby, because basically, she's not bonded with her son, Samuel. You're not doing good with the next one, with the one that you already have, just get a new one. That's all it is. Just get a new one. And that's basically what she's saying. I want to have another go with another child. So she doesn't get her wish. She don't get no hanky-panky. Her husband's not in the mood. They not doing the best. It's 15 years in. They tired of each other. Well, it keeps alluding the whole entire, in this book, it keeps alluding to the fact that she did something bad that you don't know. You'll eventually find out. But because she did this one bad thing, their relationship has suffered ever since. And that if they could just get over it, or it never happened, they would have been fine. But, she did this bad thing. Just like every thriller, somebody did something bad. We got to figure it out. So, next thing that happens is Juno's in the house some more. She's basically saying, like, her every day. She waits for them to leave. She kind of goes around the house. She sits, reads their books, eats their food. And, like, she used to be a therapist. She decided to retire. And she moved into this house to basically, like, this is her retirement. She just wanted, like, easy living. Then you go back to Winnie. She's with her son. They're not really doing the best. This is when you find out kind of they don't get along all that well. Like, she keeps trying to, like, bond with him. He's being a normal teenager, doesn't want nothing to do with her, kind of rebelling because I guess they're vegans. He doesn't want to be vegan anymore. And, they have a discussion. She ends up telling him about her job. She used to have a job because he has to do some type of report in school about the homeless or like whatnot. And she ends up telling him like, oh yeah, I used to work with the homeless. And she's like, and he's all fascinated. He's like, oh, why did you leave? And it's like, oh, because I did something bad. But she didn't say that, but that's what she's thinking. And she's just like, oh, I just wanted to be a mother. And he's like, why couldn't you do both? Which is very valid. But she's like, I didn't want to do both. And you're hearing about how she's basically running from something. She did something while she was a social worker. She used to work with the homeless. And she did something bad while she was there. And it's like, okay, keeps eluding. So then the next thing that happens is her brother, who I guess is a bad person, ended up getting kicked out of his home. I don't know why I keep mixing them up. But anyways, he got kicked out of his home by his wife or girlfriend. I'm not sure which one. And they're going to take him in because I guess it's her turn. I think there's 3 sisters, including her. And it's her turn. Nobody actually wants to take this brother because I guess he's kind of the alcoholic in the family. He does drugs, he gambles. He's not really a good person. He is that family member that everybody talk about that he is not a good person, but he's family, so you kind of just deal with it. That's basically what happens. So she lets him in the house. Husband's not happy about it, but she does it anyways because family comes first. I don't believe in that notion, but a lot of people do. Anyway, so she brings them in. They also have some type of party, which again, the husband's like, yo, I didn't want this party. You didn't tell me about this party. Why are we having party? Why are we having people at the house and everything like that? And she's like, well, it's already been planned. It's gonna happen. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a family person, but it sounds like you might not want people at the house. You guys are not doing the greatest. But she can't let her friends know, because heaven forbid, you gotta act like everything's perfect. It's that's why a lot of things fuck up, because you gotta act like things are perfect when things are not perfect. So they have this party. Brother's drunk, kind of is rude to the son, because the son kind of accidentally ran into him and spilled his drink just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm sure he didn't pay for those drinks, but whatever. So he kind of tells him to watch where he's going and blah, blah, blah. So they kick him out the house because they're like, yo, you can't talk to my son like that, which I completely understand. It's excuse me, this is my child. He did not mean to. You being a drunk and you didn't pay for nothing. So I'm going to need you to get up out of my house. I don't care where you go. You are a grown man. Because, at this point, he got to be 30-something. I'm assuming. It's that man can go somewhere. He'll be fine. So he gets kicked out the house, He feels all betrayed and whatnot, which is just dude, you'll be fine. But I bring this up because it comes back later. But, anyways. So, he gets kicked out the house. And they basically end up having a fight. Nigel and Winnie end up having a fight. And you find out 2 things. One, there's a slight discussion that Juno overhears about the husband Nigel's I wouldn't know what it feels like to steal somebody's infant. So this is a big breakthrough. You're oh, so it sounds like, oh girl, what she did bad is she stole somebody's kid. Stole somebody from the homeless community's kid. So it's oh, so Sam is not hers. So Juno does some investigating, trying to fit the timeline of okay, so kids that are missing around this time. She doesn't find anything, but she writes some stuff down. I don't really know why, but she writes some stuff names down that clearly are not Samuel. It's girls that went missing, but she writes them down on a piece of paper and whatnot, and is well, maybe I heard wrong. Maybe I heard wrong. And then the next thing you find out is that they're talking about money. And they're well, if we could just rent out that room, we can get some money. And the woman's I don't want anybody to live here. She just doesn't like the idea of anybody living here. Which then you're but isn't Juno technically living there? This whole time we've been listening about this woman living in this house. And you're so who is this woman? And turns out, it flashes back. This is when it finds out. So it flashes back, and Juno is a homeless lady that got obsessed with this family. I don't know why. It doesn't really go into details. It's just more of a, she felt this pulling for this family. She just thought they were perfect. So she's a homeless lady that got obsessed with this family. She started watching them and following them and just kind of being a little nosy. She would go into their mailbox and found out their names, which, Winnie, that's a unique name. I don't think I've ever met anybody named Winnie. And I'm not saying anything bad about Winnie. I'm just saying, never met anybody named Winnie. But so she finds out their name. She's being snoopy. And they end up doing some construction at their house. So there's like all these construction people at their house, but they're not there. And Juno ends up finding an opening where they left the door open, and she goes into their house. Which, okay, so she goes into their house. Just, curiosity, this what human nature is. I mean, I wouldn't personally go into somebody's house, but like, she doesn't have much to do, so that's what she does. So she goes into this person's house, and she starts kind of looking around. She grabs some food too, which is like, okay, lady. So she grabs some food, and the guys are coming back so the construction guys, all of a sudden, she starts hearing them coming back to like grab tools or something like that. And so she panics, and she like runs into a closet. And that's when she actually hears Winnie and I guess a bunch of kids coming in, because I guess they came in early because she wasn't expecting them, but they were gonna have some type of sleepover. So she kicked kind of construction people out for the day, and she's like, they're gonna have a party and stuff like that. So because I guess it's Samuel's birthday. So so Juno is in the closet. So she's in the closet, stuck. She's like, fuck, I can't get out of here. And then she waits for everybody to go to sleep. She's like, I'm gonna wait for everybody to go to sleep, and then I'll sneak out. So she waits for everybody to go to sleep. Like, she doesn't hear anything anymore. She hears she doesn't hear anything. And then once she comes out, she notices there's an alarm. So she's like, fuck, I can't get out of here. So instead, her idea is like, well, let me just she goes to the bathroom. She grabs some food and some water, and she goes back to the closet. And in her mind, she's like, I'll leave Monday because construction is going to continue, and that's when the alarm will be all the way off because they have it off for the construction people. Then I'll go ahead and leave. So that's what happens. She waits for Monday, and she ends up getting scared at one point, thinking that Nigel is going to open up the coat door, and she ends up wetting herself. Which, I mean, I don't blame her. I would be scared too. So she wets herself. So she decides okay, before I leave, I'm gonna clean myself up. She cleaned clothes, and she's like, I'm gonna clean up this mess and stuff like that. While she's cleaning up the mess, she ends up finding a trap door, and she finds a crawl space, and she's like, you know what? I'm 67 years old. I'm about to die, because I guess she got diagnosed with lupus, so she has bad liver, so she knows she's about to die. She's like, any day I'm about to die. She's like, I want somewhere warm and safe. I'm gonna stay here. So that's the whole reason where it's it sounds like she's in the house, she's a roommate, but the family doesn't know that she's living there, which is oh, makes sense now, because I was kind of confused for the first few chapters. It was I don't know, something about it just seemed slightly off of it sounds like she's in a different house, but then I guess she would hear stuff from them, so it's clearly she's in their house, but they weren't interacting or anything. So she's basically in this house, which I'm like, that is super creepy. Imagine, I'll do that later. Imagine being in a house and somebody else is living in your house. So you're basically just talking shit about anything you want, stuff that you would never expect anybody to hear, and she could hear it and stuff like that. So anyways, so you find out that like she doesn't actually live there, or at least they don't know that she lives there. And then Juno is basically like, oh, I need to figure out the Samuel thing. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Well, she starts to really piece together, like, you know, Samuel must not be hers. And she starts to think, like, I'm going to do the right thing. And try to guilt her. So she starts sending her things. She printed off these, like, missing kids clippings and sent it to her. And this Winnie's just getting paranoid. She saw some names being written down on a piece of paper because Juno like dropped it, and it's like missing kids and everything. And she's just like, is my husband like messing with me? Why is he looking up this stuff? And she's like, who's blackmailing me? And it's like this whole thing. She's getting all paranoid. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't care for Winnie. Winnie was the most boring part. Juno was interesting. The fact of her living in somebody's house and kind of sneaking around, because that's what her whole thing is, she's sneaking around, was super interesting. Winnie was just a whiny lady of just like, oh my god, like if I wouldn't have done this thing that you're like, that supposedly is like, you know, she stole Samuel, and like now they hate each other because she did this, and blah blah blah. And then they go on to see, this is what I'm talking about with this book. This book, the premise is interesting, but it kind of goes on some unnecessary stuff that it's just like, why? So there's like a whole subplot about her husband supposedly cheating on her, and she starts to try to find him. Like she catches him at a restaurant and all this other stuff, and it's so just like pointless. Like this part was just like, okay, whatever. Move on. So Juno finds out who the lady that she stole the baby from. Like she finds out who it is. This lady is no longer around, and she finds the grandma. So she finds the grandma. She sends the grandma this email basically saying like, hey, I think I found your grandson. You might want to come over here and whatnot. So, you know, that's what happens. So Juno thinks like, you know, before I die, I'm going to do the right thing for Samuel, because she likes Samuel. She thinks Samuel is a very good boy, and it does not deserve to be with this mother that stole him, and that's selfish and whatnot. Like she kind of like, she used to love this woman, and then she was like, this woman is not who I thought she was and everything. So she kind of wants to like fix it basically. And she's like, before I die, I'm going to do the right thing. You find out before the grandma comes, because the grandma ends up showing up. Before that actually happens, you find out what actually happened. She was a caseworker. This homeless lady had the baby, or was about to have the baby. I don't remember. It's been a little bit since I read it, so I'm a little fuzzy. But she had this baby. And the baby was like filthy. Baby was filthy or whatnot, or was going to be filthy. And she takes the baby because she's like, oh my God, you know, I need to take it to a hospital. And like, that's her whole train of thought is like, I need to take it to a hospital because the baby needs to be protected. Like, I'll come back to the mama later. Like, she basically like, fuck that mama. I'll come back and get her later. But until then, I need to take this baby to a hospital. So instead of like, you know, anything like giving a call or anything like that, I'm gonna say she was gonna steal this baby. This is my opinion. But so she's gonna take this baby to the hospital, and what happens is she puts the baby in her coat, like right here. She puts the baby right here, and that's it. She gets into like a car accident kind of, and squishes the baby. So she kills this woman's baby. She took the baby because she's like, oh my God, I gotta take it to the hospital because it can't stay here. I gotta save this baby's life. And she smushes the baby. She killed the baby. That's like what she did. She killed the baby. And instead of going to the hospital or going to the police or going to anything, she goes to her house and tells her husband, she's like, I smushed the baby. That's what she did. She smushes the baby. She goes to the thing, goes to her husband, and they get rid of the baby. And they just act like it never happened. They're like, I didn't kill a baby. What are you talking about? I didn't kill no baby. And that's the bad thing she did, which is awful. But you find out she didn't actually steal Samuel. Samuel is hers. But she did kill this other person's baby and kind of made it disappear. And this woman was either coked up or passed out or something. Like I'm saying, it's been a little bit, so I'm a little bit fuzzy. But basically, this woman was incapacitated. So she doesn't exactly, like, she didn't fight her. She didn't really know what was going on. You know, whatnot. So she disappears. And they just, you know, never talk about it. So then when she finds out she's pregnant, that's why she gets the fuck out of there. Because she's like, yes, I need to get out of here because heaven forbid this lady comes back and tries to, like, confront me. Like, what can I say? I killed your baby. I'm so sorry. You know, I was trying to save it. I kind of did the opposite. My bad. And instead of telling anybody, you know, we just kind of chucked it. And this is why her husband, I guess, can't look at her correctly, which, I mean, it's a little understandable. I don't know why they didn't just go to the doctors or something, like, but whatever. You know, I mean, she probably would have gotten in trouble and maybe did some jail time or a fine. I mean, who freaking knows? So that's how you find out, like, okay, she did this bad thing. She didn't steal Samuel. She killed somebody else's baby. So grandma comes and she's like, Samuel, where's his birth certificate stuff and all this other stuff? And this lady's like just coming in there kind of asking some stuff. And Winnie's just like, there's no way she can know. Like, oh my God, like she knows, but she's like, she can't know. And it comes clear to Winnie that she's like, oh, she thinks Samuel's her grandson, which she's like, you know, he's not. And, you know, and the grandma's basically like, yo, let's call the cops. Like, let's call the cops. Let's figure this out and everything like that. And of course, Winnie don't want to do that because even though Samuel is her son, it could still come out that maybe she did something to the other lady's child. So here is where, sorry if I'm like doing this. Here is where it gets so left field. So we're doing this. Woman's in here. She's trying to do the right thing. She tells grandma, turns out they were both wrong. And you're thinking like, okay, so they're going to end up finding out about this other infant. That's the whole thing. You want to know what just happens after this? So this brother that would have like a tiny little spot, all of a sudden busts in, kills the husband, and ties up the grandma and Winnie, drunk, high, off his mind, whatever. And the grandma's trying to convince him like, I'm here because she stole my grandson. And the brother's like, well, did you steal? It sounds like something she would do. And Winnie's like, nah, I didn't do it. Like, I swear Samuel's my son. Like you're being crazy. It's okay. Like we can fix this and blah, blah, blah. He ends up killing the husband. He kills this grandma. I think he just shoots her in the head. He just is like, man, we're going to get rid of her. And then he tries to kill Winnie. And Juno ends up stabbing him or something. Like, she ends up getting him. Which Winnie doesn't see any of this. She doesn't really see any of this because she kind of got away. So she doesn't see this. So she doesn't even know that, like, Juno was still in the house. She had no idea. I almost got my eyebrows. And so she gets away. And she gets to the hospital. And she's worried about Samuel. Her husband's dead. This lady's dead. The cops are like, why was this lady at your house? She's like, I don't know this lady. Like, she just came to the house and then my brother was just acting crazy. So she gets away with everything. Like, nobody knows about the infant thing. Nobody still knows about this. She got away with that. Her husband is now dead because of her brother. She doesn't know because I guess there was like a third footprint. They're like, yeah, lady, there was like another footprint. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because she doesn't know the Juno's in the house. She never knew this. And They move. So Samuel and Winnie move. And that's it. How? I'm telling you, that ending, there's a little bit more, but that ending, that part right there, where the brother just all of a sudden just goes on a murder spree because he got kicked out the house, was like, Tarryn Fisher, you just had to have somebody die. You were like, yo, how is one of my main characters gonna get away with something? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have her psycho twin just start murdering people, and then she's gonna get away with everything, and nothing will get resolved. She doesn't, do any penance for killing this other person's infant, and everything will be fine. What? And then they talk about mental illness, which I'm like, so, another one of those books where it's like, he's just got mental problems, and like we didn't want to face it, and like now he fucking murdered people because we did not want to deal with his crazy mental problems. Which I'm like, what is with these books sometimes? I mean, granted, I understand mental problems being a deciding factor, like it does affect people, but the fact that it was just like so left field, like I would have never seen this coming, that this was what it was going to be. Would have never seen this coming. That the end was just like he was just gonna go on. This brother that kind of had nothing to do with the story except for a tiny little nuisance, just all of a sudden started murdering everybody, and then it was like, all right, well, now everything's good, just move on, take your son and move. What? I'm telling you, anybody that reads this book or has read this book, I guarantee you agree with me. This book was chaotic. It was like Juno was interesting, Winnie was a whiny little wee. Nigel, whatever. Samuel kind of knew something was up. Like he knew something was up. And then brother just goes in and just does a little bit of slashing, and like, boom, that's the book. And it's just like, what in the world did I read? All right. Well, we're about to do this last little bit. I want to do eyeliner, but I don't want to do it on screen because I feel like it's not going to be the best. Anyways, give me 1 second. Let me do this. I'm not the greatest at eyeliner. Anyways, so the last little bit is there's a new family that now lives in this home. And, they got it for a good price because, there was some stabbing going on. So, they got it for a good price. And they start to smell something. So the husband decides, this new couple decides to go figure out what's going on, because they're thinking like it's probably a rodent down there. Something died. So they go down there, and it's 2 bodies. It's a lady, she's dead, with basically a letter that says, "I'm sorry, I wanted to do the right thing." So, and she basically is just down there dead. As a new house owner, I hope that, you got your money back or something, because you got 2 damn dead bodies down there, because she apparently killed like the brother, because the brother goes missing and everything like that. No, she killed the brother. She was like, this will be the last thing I do. Like, I tried to do a good thing. Apparently I did a bad thing. Got some people killed, so I killed somebody else as for a pendant. A pendant? That's not the right word. You know what word I'm talking about. I can't say it. But yeah, so that's it. That's the book. She, Winnie gets away, because my dog's by the way, gets away with everything. Juno does the right thing. Well, eventually does the right thing, I guess. And she dies in her crawl space, just like she wanted to. And that's the book. And I wouldn't say this book is horrible, because it was entertaining enough. Like, believe me, I've read some books that I'm like, I just need to know the ending. I don't care about the middle. And this book wasn't like this, but it wasn't great. That ending came out of nowhere. And I saw a few reviews, so a lot of people agree with me. This was just like out of nowhere. Anyways, let's finish this. If you have made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope to have more books and beauty out. I want to do some stuff that I truly like. This book I just did first because I was like, this book was chaotic and a mess. And it's really, like, I feel like a lot of people are reading it at this point. So it's kind of like, you know, it may get pushed to the algorithm. So, like, let's just do this one first. But I got some better ones coming sooner. This one was just a mess. All right, anyways, have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.